What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for being here tonight. I got a special episode for you. You may or may not know I'm on vacation. I am working. I've got a gig Wednesday night, so I'm setting up and rehearsing with the band tonight. Family's in town, all that good stuff. And then we head off to the great Minnesota tradition of going to a lake early Thursday morning. So I'm out of here. I'll be back next week for a regularly scheduled show. But I got a real special treat for you. I decided to try a little project where we would visit a classic episode. And what I did was I went through and I edited it. I got all the ums and the ahs out of there, the dead air, took out the promos and the announcements. It's just content. It's all killer, no filler. It's a very good episode. Steven and I from Leviathan have tussled over this mindset for years, and it's become kind of our own thing between us that we go back to. It's always been healthy conversation, and I enjoy debating with Steven, because what really ends up happening is that we both make good points. We both make great food for thought. And the reality is no one situation or answer fits every person all the time. So this episode we called The Big Lie. We tell the story in there of why it became the big lie and all of that. But basically the debate is, do you have to spend a huge amount of money upfront on ball pythons if you want to be a breeder and you want to have a sustainable hobby business, or can you start small, build with cash flow, reinvest, level up along the way? The answer is whatever suits you best. My argument is that most people don't have 4, 5, or 6 figures to put into something, nor should they put that kind of money into something that they have no experience in, that's so volatile from a market standpoint as ball pythons. Get the reps, do the small stuff, do the undefeateds, man. By the way, this was from 2 years ago, and these points still stand. However, we all know how much the ball python industry has changed in the past 2 years. Bells and bananas, still undefeated, still selling for more than I've ever sold them for. Still, my favorite animal that I produced this year was a banana clown combo with gravel in it. Amazing animals. So some of these tried, true, and tested proven results still stand the test of time. I won't give any spoilers on here. I did make a couple notes, though, as far as updates to the episode. First, it was a really fun project to revisit. Again, there's great insight. There's a lot to consider in here. So no matter what your outlook is or what point you're at, if you haven't seen this video before, check it out. It's great food for thought. I think in business, cash is your strongest weapon. So if you use it all up on the first day, you got to be careful not to do that. If you set up a system where cash is consistently coming in, maybe you have more options in the future. That's always worked for me, whether it's in car wash, whether it's inventory management in restaurants, or with ball pythons. It's what suits me. Good food for thought for you there. I don't think anybody should spend a significant portion of their life savings or their net worth on ball pythons. Full stop. Figure out where you are in life, figure out where your goals are, and don't chip away or undermine that with the hope of ball pythons replacing it. Okay. There you go. There's a little thought there. I think that there's a bit of a gatekeeping aspect to this argument as well, which we didn't talk about in the video. I see it more and more where there's almost like a shaming if people don't spend big. We hear this, fortune favors the brave. You don't have the guts. You can't do this. You don't have the biggest money, blah, blah, blah. Being brave is not answering to anybody else's expectations. Being brave is looking yourself in the mirror going, I got this for me. I'll figure it out from here. You only have to answer to yourself is something that's really, really important. And again, that I'm seeing more and more of. Screw gatekeeping. Make it your own way. Figure it out. There was no blueprint for me buying a car wash and turning that into a reptile facility. I figured it out. You could figure out your own way as well. I'm not knocking expensive snakes. I invest heavily in snakes now, but I built to that point where I can do that. So do it at the comfortable time for you. Get the reps in, get the chops in, learn what you're doing. Why put all the money in first if you're not going to be, I hate to say it, some of us aren't going to be good at doing it. There are many things I'm not good at in life that I'm not going to be good at. I should not put big money into that up front. You got to figure out how to sell. You got to figure out how to market. You got to figure out how to move the snakes. You may as well do that on inexpensive snakes rather than wildly expensive ones, okay? Truth be told, we really don't disagree a whole lot other than timing. And timing can be influenced by all the resources that I've just been talking about. So bear that in mind in this episode as well. One interesting thought, it's neat to look back to. A lot of the commenters I know very, very well. Some are still very active players in the ball python world. Some, I don't know where they're at. I trust that they're safe in the world, but as far as the ball python world, I don't know where they're at. And others have left for various reasons. It was neat to look back on that. And so even if you've seen this episode before, you might enjoy that angle of it as well. So I talked a whole lot. Last but not least, please take care of the sponsors. These guys keep the lights on. They keep me going every week. They're very supportive, and these are industries from within our world supporting our world. So I'd love for you to take care of them, take a look at them. Special thanks to Redline Shipping, to Vision, to Phenome, to Sundog Serpents, Reagan Renee, Royal Pythons, Jersey Guys Balls, and B&S Reptilia. Go take care of those guys. Otherwise, enjoy the show. You can comment. I've said it as a premiere. You guys can have your own chat, interaction, all that good stuff. And I'll read it. I'll check it out later. And until next time, I'll see you live next Tuesday night. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the show. Cheers. Tonight on the show, I got Steven from Leviathan Snakes. For years now, we've tussled over this topic, over tonight's topic. I'm lucky to call Steven a friend for that many years, and I know that we'll be friends after the show tonight too. But tonight, we are going to discuss whether you should buy investment-grade animals when you are starting out. We've never agreed on this, and we've decided it's time to bring it to the masses. So stick around for tonight's show. The reality is there is an answer that fits each person individually. So know that I respect that. Whatever works for you, go do it at the end of the day. But I'm happy to share my point of view and what I believe and what my experience has been and what's worked for me. And Steven has definitely had success in this industry. So I'm excited to hear his point of view. I know you all are as well. Please welcome back I don't know how many times he's been on now, but please welcome back to the proper royal stage, Steven from Leviathan Snakes. Steven, how are you tonight, man?
What's going on? That was awesome. I really, really liked the little hook that you did at the very beginning of the episode. I was like, oh, this is different. I like it.
So thank you, by the way, but like we do a lot of things for fun. And actually this will kind of flow into tonight too. We do a lot of things for fun, but then when you put your business cap on and go like give yourself a little separation from things, like I said, I went back and watched my videos and I was like, Adam, it's like 50 seconds before you get to anything. And that's fine. Most people know that. But if I'm trying to attract new viewers, or I'm fishing or I'm chumming the water with searchable topics and evergreen SEO and all those catchy words, they don't know. They don't need a countdown. And then this little, ego boost reel. Like I was like, man, I gotta practice a hook tonight. So I'm glad you caught it.
But yeah, so you said that we gotta talk about how this came about. Like, what's the story of this? Besides the fact that we have been in a blood feud in this topic for years.
I don't know about blood feud. But yeah, I don't know if we're capable of it. I had mentioned somewhere in, I think it was actually on the Proper Cup of Joe morning show, and it was just something in passing of, you don't have to spend a huge amount of money on this or that. And you had made a comment about something of investment animals. And like you say, we've banged heads on this forever. No problem. Afterwards, I didn't realize how many people were watching the chats because I really didn't give it time of the day. I was like, that's not what we're talking about today. And I just went on. Well, I got some spirited feedback, most notably from, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his last name, but Adrian. Adrian said, "The big lie." It was so good. Like, it was so vehement. Yeah, he's like, "The big lie. The only way to make money is with investment, quote unquote, animals." And then he says, "Too big of a topic for a comment, but I agree with your thoughts there at the end." And that's what you're saying to me. But when he said the big lie, I was like, oh man, I got to ask Steven.
Great thumbnail. Like,
I was like, Steven, are you going to be insulted if I say that your point of view is the big lie?
Not at all. Not at all. I completely understand. I feel like that we're generally pretty positive, but it's just a fact that like controversy and conflict and drama, it gets the clicks. Like, I'm all down for it. Like, get it, man.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why I even when I messaged Steven about doing the show, I was like, you want to go really clicky on the thumbnail? And he was like, the clickier, the better. And I was like, all right, give me a boxing picture where we can have like a face off, you know?
And the chat is already stacked. There's so many amazing people in here. I can't even go through because I'm going to forget somebody just by seeing it go across the screen right now. But I mean, we're just starting and there's 56 people that I can see on my end. Like, you guys are getting it.
Yeah, this is great. I appreciate everybody being here. And now I'm like, oh, I better be on my game. I'm going to get eviscerated if I'm not. Like one of us is like, or there's going to be like armies of both sides here.
Every point that one of us gets, you got to put in a super chat for $1 and say, this is for Steven, this is for Adam. And that's how we're going to tally up who wins. So just so everybody knows, you guys decide who wins this.
Adrian says, do I get residuals from this episode? Yeah, Adrian, I'm going to give you 10% of all 42 cents that I make on this episode. I'll tell you what the big lie is. The big lie is that you could get rich on YouTube. That's the big lie. Adrian said that. And then today, so you posted the thumbnail, and Brian Carter at BCS Balls there in Knoxville, Tennessee, who I like a lot and I get on very well with. He's been on the show. He says, depends on how you define success, in quotation marks. Can't build a top-notch coffee shop around Folgers Crystals instant coffee. Fair enough on the instant crystals part. I get that. But I do have some thoughts on the rest of it. And I guess what I'll do is just chum the waters a little bit with Folgers does have a 12.21 billion market cap as of today's closing valuation, which ain't too shabby. I know that takes that's going to need a little bit of context, but we could get to that. So that was some of the formulation for the show tonight. Yeah. A few people asked, how do we define success? And I mostly answered, well, it's different for every person, which is absolutely true. And it's also a non-answer. So do you want, should we frame an answer, or at least frame it for each of our own point of views? What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think that we should each frame it on our own and then see if we can come to a mutual understanding, so that way we can frame the debate that way.
Yeah, you're the guest. You hit it. And plus I got to think it through a little bit.
Okay, so when there's obviously lots of different ways that anybody can be successful at breeding ball pythons. It could be just a hobby where you're recreating a combo that you saw on YouTube, or it could be trying to be the next Canova. But I think that when I'm approaching this as the idea of success, I'm not thinking of it as just a hobby. I'm not thinking of it as a side hustle. I'm thinking that you are trying to get it. Oh, $20, Daytona. Chris is already in here with the super chat. Who else is going to join him in the super chat club? All right. But anyways, so with that, so I think that for my perspective, if you are trying to be among the best, if you are trying to one day be one of the leaders of the industry, make a full-time living from ball pythons, breeding ball pythons specifically. So that's the key there, is the breeding, because I do think that I put a caveat on social media versus breeding. Those are different revenue sources. But breeding ball pythons, I think that it is absolutely critical that at some point the breeder who wants to try to hit like the top tier invests big. That doesn't mean that they have to start right away, but they have to do it at some point. And that might be a year in, it might be 2 years in, it might be 5 years in, but at some point they are going to have to buy those $5, $10, $15, $20,000 snakes in order to get to that level, because there's just no way to get to that top level breeding $300 snakes. And that's it. That's all you ever do.
So, yeah, so everything I think is obviously on a spectrum. There's not a 0 and a 100. Most of us are going to fall somewhere in between that number, whatever that number means. But you get what I'm trying to say. So to stick with what the definition of success for me is, it's a couple specific caveats. It is, one, to be able to keep going, which is very nebulous, but you literally have to be able to keep the lights on and feed your animals and be able to keep going and not have it ruin your life. So that's one part of success. But very specifically, I guess I would say at some point in year 3 to 4 that you could be two things: profitable to everything that you've put in. So like break even to yourself. And this is the part that I firmly believe in, and that I'm so passionate about, that you could be cash flow positive. Oh yeah. From there, Well, you and I probably agree from that point. I do agree.
Mhm.
You got to buy big snake. You got to buy exciting snakes. I just acquired, I know some people roll their eyes at it, but I think it's a pretty damn good snake. A red stripe, leopard, orange dream, visual clown. That's
Get
going
it?
to, yeah. I mean, I got 14 female
Mhm.
clowns with codon combos in them. Like that, just that one thing is going to fly on my head. So
Mhm.
like, I do agree with that part of it. It's just a matter of when and how.
Mhm.
And I think there's a massive amount of pressure and a massive mindset that you have to spend an incredible amount of money right away.
Mhm.
And look, if you got the resources and you're cool with it, do what makes you happy at the end of the day. Like, again, Stephen, you talked about, is it a hobby or is it a business? I'm talking strictly from a business standpoint, which
Mhm.
is a lot of what I do, but I do still find joy in it. I still do buy animals that I like because I like them. And so my argument is get cash flow positive and use the cash flow from your business to invest that stuff. Not,
Mhm.
I mean,
Drain a 401k or like, yeah.
yeah, or the equivalent. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that are, everybody's got different lifestyles. Dual couples, no, what's it? Dual income, no kids. Like
Mhm.
they're relatively rich before I'll ever be rich, just because I got a 12-year-old. So, I mean, everybody's got different things that they have to worry about. But yeah, if you're draining the mid 5 figures, and when I talk about debt, if you had the money and you don't now, that's debt.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not
Yep.
accumulating interest, but you had
Mhm.
the money and now you don't. So that's my
Mhm.
pitch. So take us. All right.
Okay.
So that would be my definition of success and my starting pitch. I'll elaborate as I go, but you
Okay.
go for
Yeah.
go for it. You make your start opening statement. Make your
All right.
stake your claim.
Okay, my opening statement, which I kind of already said when I was giving like my definition of success, at least for the frame of this debate, which I do agree. I feel like that we're on fairly similar terms on it. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on this, and that is that I'm going to try to attack the opposing side a little tiny bit on here. And that is that
As you should.
when people get into the hobby, all right, oftentimes people are so excited about it. I know Courtney was, like, you go crazy, you get morph drunk and you're just buying everything and you don't
Yeah.
understand how the breeding hobby works. You don't understand how the breeding market works. You don't really understand pretty much anything. You just see cool animals that are beautiful and you buy them and you don't really know how they work together. And I think what happens initially is that people are shocked by the price tags. When we first got in, I thought $1,000 for a snake was absolutely crazy. And I like, Chris, we're both wrong. So we're in the negatives, guys. All right, we need to get some points in here to bring us back up to zero because Chris put us both at -10 right now. So come on, guys,
-10.
get those
All
super
right.
chats. I think that it is it's so common for people to make the wrong purchases early on. And that when they are getting into breeding ball pythons, because they are trying to do it on a budget, and the budget is like essentially trying to get the best deal, but the person doesn't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge in order to find a good deal. They buy stuff that is not going to help them out long term. And 2, 3, 4 years later, they know that those animals are not going to work for them and that they're a drain on resources. And that if they get too many of them, it feels like that their entire collection was built wrong and it discourages them and it pushes them out of the hobby anyway. So even though they were trying to be safe by buying cheap, inexpensive animals, it put them in a more vulnerable position because they weren't able to make the animals that people wanted to buy. And because they weren't able to make the animals people wanted to buy, they got discouraged with the hobby and they end up getting out. So a little bit, not quite my opening statements, but a little bit of attack on.
I would think so. Let me ask you this though. I would feel like the opposite could happen. Say, and I don't remember the number, so it doesn't matter. And I can't actually remember if you even told me. But I want to use the example. Go back to August 2021. I think that's when you bought either your first or your second Sunset at the Daytona show.
Daytona, yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking. And again, I don't mean this as a specific example about you, but in general, I think at that time, a visual Sunset was probably around $5,000. I don't know if it was more or less.
That was like about list price. We paid $3,500 for our first one, but yes, that was list price. Yeah.
So the point remains whether $3,500 or $5,000. That was a hatchling, and I think a lot of people, and I only see things through my own eyes. I couldn't spend $5,000 on something and then sit and wait a year to a year and a half to even use it. And then another 6 months or 8 months or 9 months to get the results, which are then hets, which I got to convince people that I'm a legitimate seller, and they're brown and black snakes that really, like, if I'm unknown and I'm at a local show, most buyers don't know what hets are. They don't know. And so at that point, I got $3,000 to $5,000 sitting on a shelf, not making interest, not appreciating even at the steady tortoise rate of the S&P 500, which really the past 3 years have been fantastic of. And then you get overwhelmed because you're like, man, there's $5,000 and I can't do anything. Now I got to have this. What if something goes wrong with it?
Yeah.
You don't have a hedge to your bet. On the flip side, and I looked on Morph Market, I think right now the lowest visual sunset is listed at 1,200, but there's two different sellers. So I bet I could get one with 1,000 cash tonight.
I agree.
I
agree with that. Yeah.
So that's somewhere between what would we say, 66 and 90 and 80% of the value. Am I doing the math right there? That it's depreciated?
Yeah.
So,
I agree with that. Oh, I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
But okay, so the crux of my argument would be, if I had spent $3,000 to $5,000 on some breeder blue-eyed leucistics that day, lesser Mojaves, those, and somebody can fact check me. This is a little bit anecdotal because I just was like, wait a minute, I'm going to put this together real quick. So I went back to listings from 2021. Those prices are around $3 to $425 then, and they're at $3 to $425 now. So there's been next to no depreciation, and the volume I could have created could have funded buying many, many more $1,000 visual sunsets today. Now I know you're more ahead than having just that one.
Yeah.
But that's the cash flow example where you could spend $3,000 and immediately start getting, get the animals within a year and the visuals and sell them.
So I agree with you. Can I do a rebuttal to that really quick on a personal anecdotal experience?
Please do. But I got to say to Brandon, those are not a pain in the ass to sell, my man. Every show, I regret that I don't have 30 bells every show I do. I swear that's not me picking on Brandon. I would say that to anybody who wrote that comment. And that's just my experience. But I roll my eyes sometimes, like, why did I even get out of bells? That's all people. I mean, it would be cash flow to fund all the other stuff. The clown, I was so happy I picked up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please rebut.
Yeah. So it was technically our second clutch that we ever got from our Sunset Boys. So we paid $3,500 for that Sunset Boy as a hatchling, and we bought a proven breeder single gene clown for $800. And this was all back in like 2020, 2021 and all that stuff. So the first year he was up to size, he bred that proven breeder clown, and we got 10 eggs from her. And that's a big clutch. And I know that that's a big clutch. That's not whatever.
Yeah.
So we ended up going straight down the middle. Yeah. We went straight down the middle, or maybe I think it was four males and 6 females or something like that. And we sold 2 pairs, like 1.1 pairs. And I want to say that we got, like, the cash that we got back then, it was like $4,500 per pair.
Nice job.
So that one clutch, he cost $3,500. The mom cost $800. That's $4,300 investment. Just from those 2 pairs we sold, we got, again, like $9,000. And then we sold one, I think, because we had originally we held back the one male double het sunset clown. We sold another male double het sunset clown, I want to say for like $750 or something. So that's putting us up right under $1,000 or $10,000. And then when we ended up buying a clown het sunset later on, we sold the last double het sunset clown for probably at the time maybe like $600. So that one clutch, the second clutch from that boy ever, we ended up holding back. It was like 4 double het sunset clown females, sold the rest, and made more than $10,000 when the investment was.
Do you think that
$4,300?
First off, you crushed it. You win. That's cool. Do you know, like, there's always the stories of like, oh, I heard this one guy did this. Like, is that one of those, this one guy did this kind of things? Like, is that a reliable claim? Yeah. Like this, is that an outlier? And what dictated, because I would like to parse it out and understand, like, is there a process behind it? What dictated that you breed it to a breeder clown? Was that like the most bang you could get for your buck when you found that one? Was there did you just have X number of money set out? What was the strategy on that? Or was there no strategy? Was it luck?
So that one, I saw the Sunset Clowns. Like, they were one of the first combos I had seen in Sunset once we got into it, and I loved them. I thought they were so cool. And at that point in time, everybody, all of us who was in at that time knows that you couldn't find breeder females. Like, if it was a pastel breeder female, period, no other genes, people were like beating down each other's door to get that girl. At that point in time, it was very common for people to say you should never sell a breeder female. That always having more clutches is going to be better because you can always make more babies. And that girl that we ended up getting, it was just a visual clown that popped up on Morph Market that was a breeder. And I was like, get it. It was the only one. I was like, as soon as it popped up, I was like, done.
I still do that. I'm like, breeder clown, I'll take her. Give it to me. Yeah. One of my questions would be, and Brandon brings up a good point. A lot of people have done it. Aaron did it. I think that's Beast Morphs. So somebody starting out, is it responsible to say, get your $4,300 plus your rodents, plus whatever you're going to house it in, you know, all the other stuff that goes into it. So get your $5,000 together and go buy these 2 snakes for this plan.
It is too risky, in my opinion.
That's kind of my point.
Yes. So
for the right person, sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance to it. So like, obviously, like one simple answer, it's not a multiple choice test. There's so many different factors. I think that if a brand new person's coming in, and most people, like if you look around at all of the people who got in when we did, they're maybe 25% of them are left right now, like of all of the people who got in during COVID. And
yes.
I personally don't think that was just because all of them bought bad animals. I think some of them bought bad animals and it set themselves up in a weak position that made it difficult to sell animals later on, and then they end up getting out. But I think some people bought amazing animals, but they didn't have the skill sets, or they didn't believe that you should market yourself on social media. Again, when we got in, the predominant thing was if you make quality ball pythons, the snakes will sell themselves. And that's one of the initial things that we essentially vehemently disagreed with on YouTube, was that you have to market yourself. Like, and I think that with that, if you come into it, just because you invest big money doesn't mean you're going to be successful. There's so much more to it than just buying snakes and putting them into a tub together once they're up to size. I think that if you invest big and you don't understand the market, if you don't understand how to breed animals, and if you don't really enjoy the entire process, it's very likely you can lose all of your money anyway because you end up getting out. And then in your situation, it would have been better if they would have taken it slow.
Yeah, I think, and I'm trying to keep up with the comments and your discussion as well. Just to be clear, I have nothing against expensive animals. Matter of fact, that's still my driving thing that excites me, is expensive. Like, it's still amazing that that's a possibility out there. So I'm not saying not to buy expensive animals. I'm saying that the pressure that's generally pitched to people is, if you're going to start and you're going to breed, you got to drop this right away. I'm not saying to do bells and not sunsets, but I am pitching the idea that for a year, you could generate enough money that while the cost of a sunset comes down, you effectively, you got to do the work for the time, but effectively out of pocket, you get that animal for nothing versus risking your 5,000 initial investment, especially if it's, and I when we say beginner, I don't really think that somebody who's never had a snake before is going to be like, all right, here we go. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. But even if you've had 3, 4, 5, 6, I still think there's value to repetition and doing things. It wasn't Malcolm Gladwell say you got to do something for 10,000 hours before, if you do, you'll become an expert. Well, that's 5 full-time years. I don't think we have to wait that long in this case, but I don't think that it should be the message for me anyway. Or I would make the alternative message. You can make money on bells that haven't lost their value. And now I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I have none in the racks anymore. But I still cover a whole lot of costs and come up with a whole lot of positive cash flow for other investments from bananas. I still think an Enchi clown banana is one of the most eye-catching, what in the world is that kind of animals? And you can get pretty decent money for them kind of deal. So that is sort of at the core. And you could do that in a bunch of tiny little steps instead of one massive step. So you could do that and buy your displays. You could do that. And because it's really a low entry to barrier, to entry, you can vend with deli cups and a tablecloth. I don't recommend it, but you can for pretty low cost, $100 a weekend. Get you some deli cups and show up with bananas and bells and watch what happens, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. I think that bananas, bells, pieds, like all of those animals are great at that kind of entry level stage. I think that when it comes to those animals, you can consistently make money as long as you are able to effectively market yourself and sell to the pet market. And I think like Alicia is talking about it right here, essentially like being able to sell your pets locally to build up your reputation.
That's the other scary thing. You can make the most legitimate animals ever. If you don't have some way to convince somebody that these truly are triple het, sunset, whatever it might be, who's going to buy them kind of thing. I got to say thanks to Alicia for, she's been a huge help lately, but I just got the email notification before I came on the show. Herpen Harbins joined the Patreon, which is super cool. I appreciate it very, very much. Yeah, how about that? So, guys, go check out the Patreon. Both Steven has one. I have one. If you like one of our arguments more than the other, you might choose a particular fork in the road if you think that one of us matches your style. If nothing else, I just want to make the point that there's way more ways than just one. We've heard vociferously, but still ongoing in the chat, that the high-end investment can actually make it. I don't want to share who they're from because I don't know that they want their name blasted out, but I had two breeders that we would all recognize the name of. One of them texted me specifically and said that they started with a 1.3 and $1,400. And now they're some of the leaders in some triple projects that are going out. And like say, we would recognize them. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it was cool that they texted me. They're like, yeah, you got it, Adam. I'm like, yes, I got somebody on the team. And then somebody else that I learned a ton from back in Florida, I love his story. He figured out that he could take cuttings from, I think it was sago palms, but some sort of palm tree, take cuttings, root them, go to one trade show and sell the palm trees, and then book it over to the other trade show and buy female Mojaves. And he was doing that 25 years ago. Those are both really good examples of getting cash flow positive first. Yeah. If you've got the money to put up and the risk tolerance, go for it. But we talked about earlier, and again, everybody's position is different. This is mine. I got a wife. I got a son to look in the eye. I can't screw around with taking. And I've worked my butt off for my 401k, my savings, man. I am a lucky man. I'm appreciative, but I'm in really good shape, and I'm not touching that. That is absolutely off limits. So this thing has to fund itself. I will. Maybe I'll get to the end slower. Maybe I'll be behind some other people, but that money doesn't get touched. That's the rule, and that's the rule of the household. And so that is what I believe in.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I think some people don't think about cash flow. They go, well, you got to spend money to make money. I hate that expression. It's factually generally true, but I hate that as a mantra where they're just like, got to spend money to make money. And then there was somebody I've interacted with in the past. They invested so much, and then they realized they didn't have enough for the electric bill in a Minnesota winter. What good does $80,000 in animals do for it? You're like,
yep.
You got to think, you know what I mean? You can't just spend. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think that like earlier I talked about how one reason why people get out is that people will potentially buy the wrong animals, build up point to Adam. Adam's getting it. I'm falling behind, guys. Come on, you got to come in here. But anyways, so people will buy animals and potentially
you got to get Brandon and Aaron to cough up some money on your behalf.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. So people will potentially set themselves up for failure because they buy the wrong animals. But people can also set themselves up for failure by overextending themselves. And when they really couldn't afford the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 investment into a ball python hobby, so they max out all their credit cards, and then an emergency happens and they have nothing to handle it, that can also push people out. I don't think that people should ever overextend themselves, should ever do anything like that in order to try to get ahead, because it just takes so long. Courtney's got it. All right, there we go. Ride or die. So, all right. But anyways, with that said,
I got YouTube got my message to block Brandon and Aaron
from Super Chat.
Nice job, algorithm. Nice job, algorithm. That's not true. I don't know what's going. I assure you, I would gladly lose and take the money.
But yeah, so I think that when it comes to, I completely agree with you on the idea of being cash flow positive. It is so much safer. And if you wait, let's say, until after your first season where you have bred animals, got the proceeds from those babies, and you've proven to yourself that you can breed the animals, you can care for the animals, you can sell the animals, because that's a huge aspect that I think that a lot of people don't realize how difficult it can be.
Get those chops. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Once you prove all of that stuff and you still love it and you really enjoy all of the different aspects, in my mind, I think that that's kind of like all of the check boxes you need to make before you're like, okay, I can do this. It's your proof of concept, as you used to say.
Yeah, fair enough. And that I would agree wholeheartedly. I'd go on a t-shirt with you on that. Like that, I agree wholeheartedly with.
But I still think that at the point that you're like, okay, I've proven to myself I can do this. I can sell the animals. I can do all that stuff. But I need to, or I want to get to the point where I am turning this into a full-time business. I'm getting to the point of being top tier. Yeah.
Hang on. Troy is talking out of both sides. Reinvest and level up every year. That's all I'm saying to do. That's what cash flow and reinvesting into the business is. That's not Team Steven. That's Adam. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know where we're at. Somebody in the chat, you're gonna have to tally it up and kind of throw in a couple extra super chats for me on there. I need it.
There we go. Yeah.
So at the point that you are like, I want to take this full time, at the point that you're like, I want to, or I think I could be a top tier breeder, you have to invest. And while you can wait till you're cash flow positive, what will end up happening is that the animals that you already own, if you bought in, I'm going to say on the lower end, they are going to be less and less useful to you later on, the older they get. So like right now, a single gene clown to us, when we first got in, proven breeder female, she was able to make a $10,000 clutch paired to a sunset. That same female right now paired to a sunset, maybe off of a 10 egg clutch where you hold back 4 females, maybe might make 3,000 to 5,000 if I'm guesstimating. Again, I don't really know. So it's like, they become less useful to you later on. So you do have to start really investing, because at the point that you're like, all right, I started off slow, I had some bells, I had some bananas, now I'm starting to level up, you do have to start investing. And it's once you really start investing big, that's when you're going to see the big gains.
And I believe it or not, I agree with you. And I agree with what Troy is saying as well. I probably do it at a slower rate than some other people do. But I do set aside and I budget a percentage of sales to say, all right, that is smart spending money. Go spend on something that is either unique or it's going to move you so forward ahead where you could hope to make something unique. Because I do think that there's a value in differentiating yourself that way. But I personally feel like I have to make that money before I do it versus the
bringing it in from
way.
outside.
There's always going to be beginner guitarists that got the $5,000 Gibson. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? 4 chords. And then there's going to be the gunslinger that's playing the really cheap or inexpensive, knockoff Squire or whatever. But I think having that mentality of, all right, here is a framework of what I'm willing to spend and what makes sense to spend. And there are times where something is such a good deal that you probably should buy it. If you're comfortable with managing debt, with managing cash flow, there are, one thing I will give a complete caveat to: if somebody has run a successful business before for a long, I would say for a 5-year period of time, and ball pythons are what you want to do, by all means, go to the bank, utilize your past experience, starting businesses, building brands, bank relationships, understanding cash flow, the terrors of the ups and downs of feeling like you're king of the world one day and the next day going, oh my God, what have I done? If you've done all that, then you got that experience. But that life experience is kind of what I'm talking about. I don't know that if somebody hasn't been through that stuff with their own money, and again, if you got $1 million in the bank, sure, probably, 25, 30 grand, no big deal. If you got a kid that you got to pay for college and mortgage and look, there are ways. And at the end of the day, beautiful eye-catching snakes are always going to be the foundation backbone of the market. You might not get rich, but you could stay in business with them is my point.
I agree on that. So we breed bells. I think we just had our 4th clutch of bells this year, because we had a bell this year. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm taking one of your dollar votes then. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah, right there. Thank you.
So we breed bells, and the reason why we breed bells is we believe it is so important as a hobby for breeders to help bring in new people to the hobby and help it grow. And I think that bells, bananas, and single gene pieds are some of the best animals to grow the hobby, because if I come into the hobby and I see an amazing sunset clown and I see that the price is $20,000, that's not going to get me into the hobby. I'll just be like, that was a really cool looking snake. I can't believe they're that much money. And I'll never think about it again.
Right. You're going to tell your buddies, hey, I saw a $20,000 snake. I know I'm out now. I'll never be able to buy a ball python. And you forget about it. Yeah.
But if I see a beautiful mystic potion, and I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and it's $300, there's a chance me as somebody who's not in the hobby, I might buy that animal. And if I buy that animal and I start doing research and I get down the YouTube rabbit hole, that person who bought a mystic potion may eventually turn into a breeder who buys the sunset clowns.
That's
and
right.
I think that that's super, super important, that not just focusing solely on the highest end and only catering to people who are already kind of in the hobby. I think it's super important that you're finding ways to grow the hobby too. And that's one of the reasons why we breed bells, even though it is so much easier to sell a sunset than it is to sell a bell in terms of customer service, effort, reward, all of that stuff associated with the two transactions.
There are those things that go with it. I will say the follow-up phone calls of getting an animal to eat when you sell a bell, it's going to add up. I will cede that point. But I'm thoroughly entertained and appreciative that you have 4 clutches of bells this year. That makes my night. That's perfect. That's all I need to take with me. Kat brings up a good point that I want to put some context to. Kat says, as a newbie who's still growing up my animals, I might have my first clutch of spring 2025. I feel that I have to be in the green before going in big, which is what we've been talking about. And no surprise, I agree with that. The last sentence is really, it's important, actually. Being safe isn't being scared. Aaron and Brandon are good friends of mine. I don't take any offense if they say scared money or scared this or that. I know that we're friends. My fulfillment comes from walking into the room each day and not clocking in for another job. But Kat's exactly right. And putting pressure on people and calling them scared or coming across that way does nothing but breed a sense of snobbery, just like somebody that sees a $20,000 snake and goes, well, that answers that question for me. I won't be in this hobby. So good for you, Kat. I agree. And like I said, these are friends. We're good. I'm not worried about it, but I don't want that to be an overarching message. And I truly don't even remember who said it. I think it was, but I don't think that's a good representation to welcome people in when we need people here. And you made a great reel and a great video about snake discovery the other day, Stephen. Mm-hmm. Props to you. You're exactly right. The math is on our side. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. That's off topic of this debate, but I'm very, very happy that you made that video.
I have a question for you, Adam.
Yes.
If you're down for it. Okay. So with your approach, which is essentially like, take it slow, don't invest big until you get to the point that you're cash flow positive.
Yeah.
How many options do you think, given your knowledge now, or how many purchases do you think, given your knowledge now, that when you very first got in, you were like, that animal was a good purchase and I'm happy I still have that animal?
Oh, I mean, first, very few. And second, the ones that are there in that very few, it was dumb luck. Yeah. Okay, look, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So you got to stick around long enough to learn what you don't know and then start what I'm talking about. So very few. My female hypo banana has actually been an incredibly profitable animal. She's made some incredible combos for me, both visually, but also breeder wise. What are you laughing about here?
Bob's approach. If you want to be successful in the hobby, buy animals from Bob. That's the key. Like,
there we go. He's going to make Uncle Bob's going to make everything better for you. Just go see him. But if you do buy for Bob, use the promo code PROPER. You're going to get 10% off and your boy is going to get treated nicely by Bob. No, to your point, Stephen, no, I made buys all over the place, all these different directions. I see it happen with a lot of my customers that you can only say so much before you become patronizing, and you don't want to, squash somebody's fire and passion for what they're doing. So, that's kind of one of those first steps is where you're like, oh crap, now I understand the framework. This is all going to have to change. And that's like the first hurdle, I think. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Getting points again.
Well, I mean, that's a home field advantage. I do have to say, I mean, that, and I'm right. Good. So, I mean, it's all in my favor.
I love it. I love it. All right, come on, guys. Beast, Aaron, Brandon, Bob, I need you. I need you in here. Like,
there's a good plug for Bob. Brandon says the animals I got for Bob worked well for me. They'll work good for you. No, he makes good stuff, and there's nothing. Anyway, there's good animals out there. I've lost track a little bit. So where would your follow up be? So yeah, my answer is pretty low success rate from the initial round of animals that I purchased. Then I realized I was kind of screwed up, and I kind of started to make some plans. Is where I went from there.
I think that there is a level of like you were saying, like kind of dumb luck that we got. I think that we bought into Sunset very, very early. We bought into the Sunset project probably within our first 6 months of actually deciding we were going to breed. We decided we were going to breed in August, and we bought our first Sunset in October. So it was 2 months. What is that like? And it ended up being easily the best and when I'm going to use this term, I'm using it loosely because I actually don't like it being applied to animals. And I'll tell why. It's not like a kind of feel good type thing. It was probably our best investment that I've ever made in my entire life. And I was into short-term expiry stock option trading before snakes.
I was going to say
more money from that $3,500 than anything else I've ever done in my entire life.
I think I got to jump in really quick because I did use the expression dumb luck earlier, and I hope I didn't point it directly at you, or 100% at you. But if I did, my apologies. I hope everybody knows. I think you're one of the most insightful, ambitious, see a target, see a goal, go hit it. You and Courtney are amazing at that. So I don't take anything. I didn't mean. Clearly, it wasn't stupid. It worked amazingly. And
it was also lucky. I could have not.
I know, but like, how awful is it when somebody's like, you've accomplished something. They're like, yeah, you just got lucky. It's screw you. I took the risk. I did the homework. It turned out I was right. Like I'm not going to take that from you, but I forgot about you were doing the stock options trading. That's a great litmus test for kind of where people will fall. If you were to ask me, Adam, do you invest? I go, yeah, all the time. If you said, well, what do you invest in? I go, S&P index funds. I'm not screwing with anything else. Nothing. To this day, I've never bought a single individual stock. And other than to buy this house, I've never sold a bit of my index funds either. They've all, 25 years now, just growing steadily. I won't touch them. I refuse to. So, but that's a good litmus test of kind of the
risk.
The type. Well, and maybe the type of breeder that the people will be too, you know?
Yeah. And there's a point that Bob made, but I'm going to get to it in a second because I do think it's a good point, and hopefully it can get me a couple points from the chat.
Okay.
But, all right. So with that, I feel that, or here, we'll go ahead and hit it. So this is about the kind of the expense versus reward of working with lower end animals versus higher end. And that is that essentially it costs the same regardless of what animal it is to grow it up from a hatchling to an adult. But if you're getting higher end animals, your subsequent reward is going to be vastly bigger and you're going to have bigger profit margins. And if you have bigger profit margins, it's going to be easier to keep going. But
that's if the animal doesn't die.
Yeah.
The gene isn't screwed up, which has happened many times.
Yep.
And actually, because you crushed it on Sunset. There's people that love Sunsets, people that hate them, but clearly there's a place for them. I think a more interesting example was this movement about a year and a half ago to try and make quad and quint and triple hets. That market is gone. That people can't give away male triple hets. Let me tell you, I know firsthand. Like, so I think that we could shoehorn arguments when they're right. Hindsight 2020. But there's also some really good examples of where those have missed. Now, all due respect to Bob, Bob has forgotten more about ball pythons than I'll ever know. So I think generally that's probably exactly right. And Brandon mentioned too, time, overhead, space, work, all of that stuff. You got to factor all that in.
Yeah, and I think one thing on going on the higher end side, and I will say this is what I thought, or we thought when we were buying into Sunset, but again, it could have very easily gone the opposite direction. We saw everybody who was getting in at the same time that we were, and everybody was buying clowns, pieds, and desert ghost. And our thoughts were, if they're buying pieds, clowns, and desert ghost at that point in time, and they're getting hatchlings, they're going to grow up those hatchlings, and 3 years from now they're going to be making clowns, pieds, and desert ghost combos. And if they do well and they sell those animals, they're going to want to get into the next level up. And what we thought at that point in time, it would be puzzle, sunset, and monsoon. So because we were trying to anticipate what is the market going to want 3 years from now when we are able to produce babies in it, and we luckily anticipated it correctly, we were one of the only people who had those animals on the market. And because we were one of the only people, we didn't have to compete with everybody. We only had to compete with a very small handful of people. They're honestly really, really good friends that helped us out because the Sunset Project was so small at the time that everybody knew each other. And because you were able, again, it's lucky, it could have gone the wrong direction, and maybe nobody wanted Sunset, but it went the right direction. People loved Sunset, and when we were able to produce babies, by buying in early, or by buying in higher earlier, we were able to be there when the vast majority of the market was ready to purchase.
Look at Bob. Just
there we go. 50 points. 50 points. Or just only one.
I thought each one was 1 point. We're not talking. I mean, if we're talking cash, I think I'm still in the lead if we're talking just straight cash.
I mean, was 1 point, but the second I get a $50 one.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We do all have bills at Bob. Thanks so much. Those of y'all that didn't hear earlier, Bob will be the guest. I think it's next week. I'm only questioning because I didn't confirm it, but I'm pretty sure Bob is on next week, and he is selling. You could buy tickets to this show. Use the promo code PROPER for 10% off. And he said, this is true. This is real. That Proper Royals viewers, I haven't printed it anywhere. I really don't know where our agreement begins and ends, but I know live, if you're watching, use the promo code PROPER in your inquiry, and you get 10% off of an animal from Bob. That is Bob's Balls. If you're not familiar with who Bob is, you should be. It's Bob Vu at Bob's Balls.
Oh yeah, one of the best people in the hobby. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. I need every penny I can get right here for this contest.
Chris, okay. What if you had gone Stranger instead of Sunset? And yeah, I swear to God, you're being too hard on yourself when you're saying, "Well, we got lucky." No, you did. I remember you telling me that strategy probably over beers at Daytona one time or over the phone. And those of y'all that have lost track already. Trying to predict what everybody's buying and what they're going to want to technically crossbreed, what they're going to want to, mesh together in the future and what they would need. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was 3D chess, and I'm over here playing checkers, kind of thing. But so I think that you're incredibly insightful. Let's see. Let's talk about the Stranger thing. I also want to ask, if it was cost prohibitive to go as whatever today's version of buying that, what would an equivalent purchase today be? Monsoon's probably still a little bit more expensive than that was, or not?
Yeah, I would say it's probably, I've known Monsoon. I've known that there have been people who've bought Monsoons for roughly the price range that Sunset was when we got in, but I don't know if that's the one that I would do. So there's two different avenues on this. There's brand new.
Wait, don't give your answer yet. We got to. This is the teaser, so that people stick around here in just a second. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So we got to talk about. So we're going to talk about what's the equivalent now, and what are the ups and downs of it, and then we got to talk about this Stranger detail because I think that Chris nailed it. You want to talk about Stranger first, or what was the other topic? What would we recommend for somebody on a tighter budget? Is that a fair question right now?
Yeah, I'm down for that. I think the ones you had said was like, what would have happened if we had invested in Stranger instead of Sunset? And like, what would be like the current Sunset?
That's right. Okay. All right. And then we'll finish up with, hey, what's a good outlook for if you got a whole boatload of money, and what's a good outlook if you have a little less money, which I'm a guy with a little less money. That's cool. All right. Also, talk to me.
But before I jump into this, I do want to say just like thank you to all of your sponsors because they're doing awesome things supporting you with the podcast. And thank you everybody in the chat. Again, we got 85 people in this chat. There's been so many super chats to hopefully nudge me up just a little bit past Adam on it because we need all those as we can. But what I want to ask the chat before we jump into like the second half of the show is that if you're watching right now, to take a screenshot of it and share it on your story on Instagram so that way we can try to bump this up over 100. That'd be so cool if we can get 100 people watching it at any one time. So I
gotta say, it's been a little while since I've been over 100. So that would be cool. I see some new names popping in, which is cool. Will's hella heat. Will, your girl's on her way today. I'll send you an update afterwards, but she will be there tomorrow morning. If you didn't get tracking or anything, let me know. But thanks for the support, and I know you're going to love the girl there.
Okay.
Hit us up,
what do you want me to do first? Stranger instead of Sunset, or what's the current Sunset?
Sure. Let's say that. There was a time when Stranger was just through the roof, man, especially as a Kodam. I was amazed at how expensive it was. So talk through your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Stranger was actually one of the morphs that we were considering getting when we originally bought Sunset, because we were looking at a lot of the higher end morphs. Because that was one of the things, is if people were making clowns right now, once they got clowns to sell, maybe they're going to buy into Stranger. And our thing that made us not buy into Stranger versus Sunset, there's twofold. One, it was a incomplete dominant morph, whatever the right word is. And because of that, we felt that it would be so easy for all of the people who already have Stranger to breed a ton of it that season. And before we're able to produce anything, there's going to be so much of a supply on the market that we're just not going to be able to compete with. So it's going to bring the prices down faster than a recessive. And because we were still really getting ourselves established, that was one of the things that scared us away from it. And the fact that Stranger, at least all of the stuff that was on the market at the time, was just the heterozygous form of Stranger, just one copy. That meant that statistically speaking, only half of every single clutch was going to be a Stranger, where if we got a visual Sunset, we guaranteed every single baby would be at least a Het Sunset. And Het Sunsets at the time, females were going for like $1,200. So our thoughts were like, any clutch, if we get 3 females and we bought them for $3,500, we're going to make our bunny back, was essentially what we were thinking. It felt like a safer investment because we didn't have to worry about the odds.
I think, from my own 2 cents, I think visuals are always, not, I guess not always. I guess I would buy a Stranger before an albino at the moment. I think. Okay, fine. But generally speaking, visuals that are in demand are almost always going to outweigh a dominant or co-dominant. Now, there's a few exceptions, and we got one cooking that's full of debate right now. Is the whole zebra Mackenzie thing. Mackenzie Het Zebra, is Zebra Super Mackenzie. That has a good visual heterozygous effect. I'm speaking as if they're the same. We don't know that either. So the Mackenzie as a single gene has a cool visual effect. And of course, the Zebra as a recessive gene has a very cool visual effect as well. So I would say that's an exception. But generally, Brandon said earlier that recessives are generally going to be greater than codoms. The only time I would also hesitate on that is if you're going to be making hets, I would always try and get some kind of codom in there, because it seems like the double visual just on its own tanks pretty quick, but the double visual with almost any codom holds value really, really well. I think we're seeing that in clown pieds. It's so easy to say, clown pieds are dead, but clown pied Enchi is still holding value, and it's a beautiful snake. Clown pied leopard is doing things that leopard never did in pieds. That's fantastic. So Josh is, I'm Josh, hey, 20
he didn't
bucks.
say a name, so it's just $20 for a super chat. Nobody gets any points for that one.
Oh no, Josh doesn't care about our debate. He wants to make sure that people know that Zebra and Mackenzie are not the same. That's what he wants to know, or he wants people to know.
Off our debate topic just a little bit, but I have originally I thought that Zebra and Mackenzie were different, and then I saw pictures and I saw animals in person that were produced from Zebra to Mackenzie pairings. I think it was like a pastel Zebra to like a GHI Mackenzie or something like that. And the animals that were produced from it, if somebody had held up that animal and this was a GHI Zebra, I'd be like, yeah, of course it's a GHI Zebra. So. I don't know if that means that they're the same, if they're allelic, or if just the fact that both of them having kind of that reduced banded look together gives an appearance that's very similar to Zebra. But I wouldn't be surprised if they are proven to be at bare minimum allelic. In fact, I would actually be surprised at this point if they're not. If they're not allelic.
Right.
But it doesn't mean they're the same. And I don't think that that's a bad thing against any of the projects. I think that means that people recognize the value that the Zebra combos have, and that will also apply to Mackenzie.
Arvin asked, so they've proven to be different. No, they're not. The jury's out. They're
doing tests right now.
Yeah, it's still too early, Arvin, on that. I will say, sometimes when I'm playing music, there's songs that I absolutely hate, but for the right amount of money, I'll sing you Wagon Wheel, man. And Josh, for $20, if you want to be different, baby, they're different tonight. Okay, those are separate, my man.
There we go. Okay, so we had talked a little bit on the Stranger instead of Sunset. I don't think we would have done as well with Stranger for all the reasons that we listed above or previously. Behind us, I don't know how it goes. This is not a post that we're scrolling up on, but I do completely see how somebody who could come in and be like, I want to invest big, and they would have bought Stranger instead of Sunset, and then they would have been soured on it because they're like, what it tanked and I wasn't able to make babies. And when I was able to make babies, I got half of a clutch and they're worth a quarter of the price. Like, but so I could see that I think that people in the comments have said it already, that it is so important to have a solid idea of how the market works and how breeding works, because it's also possible that you could buy a stranger, and because you got a stranger and you're like, oh, it's a stranger, it's a great, awesome animal, it's always going to make great stuff, but you got the deal version of it, and that stranger also was a super pastel stranger with spider in it. And then all of the babies you produce are just, even if they have stranger in them, nobody wants them. Like,
right. Yeah, and that's another part of it. Yeah, that's a whole different thing too. Yeah, I think it's over. Jen Brennan says, thank you for the first, thanks for the $5. And Sarah, thank you for the $5 as well. And I saw Courtney's note. Steven, you can throw money into the tip jar anytime. Like, I'll play the four chords for you. I'll tell you the Cumberland Gap, all that good shit, man. So I think it's overlooked. I think people jump to double, triple, quad heads, and they forget to grab the incomplete dominance in the mix along the way, because you don't start all the way over, but say you get to that double visual, how are you going to add, okay, not stranger, we've played that out, but how are you going to add Wookiee acid or blackhead, these really great genes? Well, you got to go back to making double hets to get it, kind of thing, or you got to spend more money. And back to my point, you got to buy more, and then suddenly, well, you got to spend money to make money, kind of thing again. So, good Lord, guys, you guys are blowing my mind. All right.
My name's in it, so those got to be 50 points for me.
You can have the points at this point. I don't give a damn. Just keep it right. Keep the juice flowing, man. This is all right.
I love it. You guys are amazing, by the way. You guys are killing it. Okay, but you had another question. Oh yeah,
I told you 3 years ago we should start a show together, and here's 50 more reasons that we should have done that, Steven. Just for the record.
I know, and it would have been super fun, and I love coming on the show, but I can't. Like, even now, doing it every single Tuesday. Props to you, because you are so consistent at it.
Well, I was just at a show with Shane on his Patreon audio only podcast, and we were talking about it. And honestly, I couldn't have made it this far if I wasn't like the lone wolf kind of guy. Like, keeping multiple people on the same page repeatedly, indefinitely is damn near impossible. In a lot of ways, I'm amazed Joe and I have kept this going. It's almost a year Joe and I have been doing our morning show. Like, that's a rare exception. So I don't hold it against you. I just take a little bit of pride in being like, see, this works, Steven. There's good stuff here.
Get it, man.
All right, I cut you off. All right, you were posing a question to me about a question I posed to you. So let's hit that.
Yes. So it was, what's the current sunset? Like, if somebody was coming in right now and they were trying to replicate what Courtney and I did, what would be the move on that? And I think it is so much harder now because the multi-recessive projects fragment the market. So because everybody essentially on the breeding side in some way, shape, or form is chasing some kind of multi-recessive project, it isn't just enough to be into sunset. You have to be able to have sunset that fits into their hypo-clown project or their DG clown project or their clown pied project or anything like that. And I don't think that there's any one single good answer right now. That said, I do think that genetic testing, which wasn't around when we started, it has completely changed the game, and it has created a opportunity for people who are coming in on a budget to skip entire generations. And the way that I would say this is, let's say that you're coming in on a budget and you can buy maybe 1 or 2 gene combo clown females or combo ultra male females or something like that. Doesn't really matter what it is. And you go and look. Josh Lundberg from Ball Python Shed, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, hit a ultramel puzzle that he posted to Morph Market, and it sold for like $20-some thousand. And ultramel puzzle, no other genes, double recessive, beautiful animal, but it is just a double recessive. You could also go on Morph Market right now and buy an ultramel het puzzle male. So it's almost the same animal. It's except that it's only going to make half of the babies will be het puzzle versus all of the babies will be het puzzle from the double visual. But that animal would be like $3,000.
Yeah, it's so 1/7 the price for 50% of the odds. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can buy an animal like that, and that's your power male, $3,000 ultra male het puzzle male, and you breed that to a bunch of different combo het females or combo visual females, statistically speaking, half of the babies are going to be that het puzzle, which are the exact same babies that would be made if you had the double visual. You're just getting half of them. Yes, you do have to shed test to figure out which ones they are. And yes, you're probably going to want to help. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to do that. But yes, you're going to have to shed test the babies. And yes, you might get really bad odds and you're probably going to want to hold stuff back, but that can shave off literally 5 to 10 years from a project. And now you are right behind the person who bought that $20,000 male and you did it off of 3,000. Like, that's the play right now, I would say.
Yeah, I would add to it. Now, you wouldn't be right. Well, you'd still be right behind them. Next year, that $20,000 animal is going to be, I'm not going to name a number, but it's going to be significantly less. You can buy the same animal that they've had for significantly less. And yes, you're going to be one generation behind them, but you were one generation behind them before. But the difference is you still had the 20,000 grand in your pocket, or 20,000 grand, 20 grand in your pocket. I think what scares me too, that I didn't bring in earlier, is the price of some of these animals that we know it's not how much, yes, is debatable, but we know they're going to be driven down. Everything is going to get driven down until it hits a pet market eventually. A super pastel super enchi is just as difficult to make as an ultra male puzzle. And that is scary, but it's also in some ways reassuring, because other people would say, well, yeah, why put the effort into the super pastel enchi? Of course we wouldn't. We would put the effort into the other. But the value that we're attaching is demand that we're creating. And some of that, because of how fast prices drop, sometimes the encouragement is rooted in fear and FOMO, fear of missing out, versus a long-term look and going, this is still probably too early for me. Sure, I'll miss the boat that, the Bob Boos and Justins of the world are on. It doesn't mean I won't get there on that boat one day. I'm just not on it right now. And I guess that would be my what I come around to. I wanted to bring up a point that's not related to what we were just talking about, but it is related to my cash flow argument. There are many, many ways to increase your cash flow. One of the ways is to breed excellent things. And we all should try and breed excellent as far as healthy animals, animals with good lineage. Visually, they're representative of their given morphs. But you could bootstrap stuff. It's no secret that my two biggest expenses starting out were shipping and rodents. It's not rocket science to connect Redline Shipping and Cold Blooded Cafe to my brands. Now I had to find a way to bring them value. That's a way to increase cash flow as well. You can bring things down. You can put time in that doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost me anything to put on this show other than the StreamYard. You use a little bit of equipment, but honestly, there's plenty of people that do it with a cell phone. So what I would encourage people is not to just think right with this tunnel vision of, I can only make it by raising the money with these snakes and this. You can look around, and in one way, 3 years is forever. And I use 3 years because that's when I started this live show, was 3 years ago, come August. In another way, man, it's gone in a flash of whatever the expression is. And I'm not blowing smoke when I say these sponsors make a difference in my life. I can't believe in 3 years what a valuable market segment I built for myself that I never even dreamed of. I didn't even know it was possible. And it made such a huge difference. And it does allow me to invest in new racks, and I can grow. And, because as you grow your collection, you got to grow your infrastructure and facilities as well.
I know earlier we had talked about, or I had said, like, kind of focusing on the animals. You're completely right. There are other sources of revenue. There are other sources of cost savings that can help you out as you're being successful. And I personally believe that if you're really good at those skills, it will help you sell your animals faster. It will help you sell your animals for more money. It will help so much more. It's much more likely that somebody, in my opinion, that is really personable, has great customer service, can connect with people, that person is going to be successful regardless of the level of animals they buy into, versus the person who might spend $100 grand buying into animals, but they kind of go off of the idea, and I apologize for cussing on your show. Can I get one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. But the type of person who's like, I'm an asshole and I'm proud of it, that type of person probably is going to have a very, very hard time being successful in the reptile hobby, because people are such an important aspect of it. And if you hate people and you hate dealing with people, you're probably not going to like dealing with customers. You're probably not going to make very many sales to customers because they don't feel connected.
I agree completely. And I'll add on top, there's other ways to invest big. You can invest big building your brand, whether it be paying for advertising, whether it be joining various Patreon groups. I think Jen is a fine example of somebody who has consciously said, you might not know me for snakes for a little while. You will. But in the meantime, you're going to know me because I'm going to be everywhere and participate. And her passion is phenomenal. I'm lucky that she's in my Patreon, but she's in several others as well. And she makes herself very visible, no pun intended, on her brand, High Vis Pythons. And there's value in that. You can invest in yourself in education. Stephen, something you and I were talking about before we even came on the show that I think a lot of people don't think about. Okay, how am I going to make up the gap? Well, I got to figure out what I can do that nobody else is doing. What's nobody else doing? I bet nobody else is researching SEO strategies, Google search strategies, and how I can bring every person that wants to Google a banana ball python or blue-eyed Lucy within a 50-mile radius of me to my front door. I'm willing to figure that out. That is on my mind right now. And so, okay, you don't have what's the lingo from Rounders? You don't have a stack of high society to invest. That's 10K. That's the old poker talk. That's fine. Put the time into it. Put the education into it. Figure out. I had somebody tell me one time that I was cheating, and I was like, I'm not cheating. I'm the most transparent guy in the industry. I'm working my butt off, figuring out how I can get ahead if I don't have the 10 grand to spend. So I got to leave it there because I don't want to out the person. But I was don't call it cheating, because I've worked hard at relationships and built some great opportunities.
I don't know anything about that specific one, but when Miguel got in, people gave Miguel a bunch of flack for dropping big money, saying that he was just buying his way to the top. And again, I think that it is naive to think that there is not different like tiers in the reptile hobby. And I think that when people perceive somebody who got in after them and that they don't have as much experience surpassing them, I genuinely think that it infuriates a certain type of person. And it doesn't matter that the person who got in after them is better at social media, had more money to invest, made better decisions, is overall just an easier person to get along with. That person who got in after them is cheating in this way for whatever reason. Like,
yeah, well, it's the old, just what I was saying earlier, like, oh, somebody could accuse you of having dumb luck. No, you were right. And you put a lot of thought into it. You could have been wrong, but you were right. So, and then, but that should be recognized rather than called dumb luck. I would see it with chefs too. We have HR departments that are rightly so, as they should be, very prominent in a lot of places where they used to not be. And kitchens are one of them. And I've heard chefs go, oh, these people got it so easy today. And they don't use the word cheating, but essentially they're making the same argument. And I've had very close friends that are chefs. I wear a chef coat out of respect for those guys. And I've had to say to them, just because you suffered and were treated like shit, does that mean that that's what you would expect for everybody? Or could you lay a better future for these people? And that reminds me of the people that say you're cheating, or they're furious, or they spent $8,000 on an animal that you just bought for $1,000 because whatever of crazy market forces and all of those things. So, all right, to wrap up, what would you say? What would you say we've concluded this evening, Stephen?
All right. I think that based off of everything we've said so far, I think that we both agree that if you want to do it more than like a hobby, like if you want to reach the top tier, at some point you're going to have to invest money, and not just like a small amount. You might do that when you're cash flow positive. You might do it a year in after you got a feel and you're like, okay, I want to take the plunge. Or somebody might come in 2 months into the hobby and buy a Sunset when they're $5,000. But that at the point that you decide that I want to do this big, that doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be successful, but that everybody who is at the top tier have made that plunge at some point. It might have happened in the past. It might have happened 5 years after they started breeding, might have happened 10 years after they started breeding. Every single person at the top has made that plunge. And that because of that, I still believe that if you want to hit that top tier of the reptile hobby, you have to invest big at some point.
And I would make my closing statement to be, Do it on your own pace. Don't feel pressure from anybody around you. There's a place for everybody. Figure out how to get cash flow positive, and then you're rich, because then you have your costs covered and everything else you can invest, and that will eventually pay off for you. I promise you. That is what I believe. I also want to finish by saying, and this is a little, sorry if I come across, I hope I don't mean to be arrogant. I think everybody who's watching knows me well enough to know that arrogance is not one of my strong suits. If you think you're just starting at something and you can't make a difference, or you can't make a splash, or you can't accomplish something, Steven and I started at very similar times in marketing our brands and becoming a presence. And look what you guys did for us tonight. You got us to damn near 100 people in the audience for two guys that 3 years ago on the internet really didn't much exist, or maybe didn't exist at all. And I'm flattered and humbled, and I'm thankful for it. Just get to work, go get started, go do the work, figure it out your right way. And again, my advice, make the money and then spend it. But that is totally up to you on what you're comfortable with and what your resources are and where you are. Steven, I'm so thankful for you, man. This is amazing. Like, it's not lost on me that a lot of people are here because you're here. So that's all right as well. Jessica.
There we go. We'll get it. Tinley. We're going to be rolling around in it. When Antoine sets up his next fight, Jello wrestling.
I'm not wrestling you. Demolish me. I'll race you. I can run away from you, but I'm not wrestling you.
No. I thought that Jessica was challenging you to a Jello match. You're wrestling Jessica.
She would kick my ass too. I'm not wrestling Jessica. I wrestled you before. I got it. So Jessica made a comment about the Jello wrestling to settle it at the very end, and I had this joke. I used to, whenever I'd be I would joke that, like, you wouldn't want to see me in a wrestling outfit because you could see all my ribs. So I don't think I put that context in my comment back to her. It was like, "Hey girl, you like ribs?" She's probably like, "What the hell is that I'm talking about?" Hey, thank you, everybody. I am flattered by the money. You know what? That's certainly going to go to, it's going to go to something good. I got some money going out in the next couple weeks from money we raised for Chris's charity with the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Steven and I will find something to do with it, or we'll buy a round of drinks, certainly for each other, if not for some other people that want to come hang out the next show that we do together. But I really appreciate. Yeah. Hey, look, guys, I'm not too there's very few things I'm too proud for. You want to raise some money for Jello? What the hell? Well, I've warned you. I'm hairy in weird places and skinny in others. So there you go. You're stuck with me at that point. Thank you all very, very, very much. Steven, where can people see you next time, and where can they find you out in the world if they don't know of you yet?
All right, so we are Leviathan Snakes on YouTube, on Instagram, and I think we're actually on TikTok, but we very rarely post on TikTok. But we are dropping a video tomorrow, actually. I still got to finish editing it tonight, but it is on the pros and cons of trying to stand out as a new breeder. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I think it'll be pretty cool. So
I think it goes right on the heels of tonight, man. You have to, I think, but maybe there's cons. We got to watch the video. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Steven. Stick around. Audience, next week we got Bob Vu, and the week after that, Corey DeLong, then Warfels Morphs, and then Billy Rose. It's a pretty good stretch coming up. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed, but you liked what you saw tonight, consider that. And thank you all very much. I'm going to hit the button, and I am out of here. Thanks, everybody.